Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Margarita T, President of the League of Women Voters, Cain County, and it is a pleasure to welcome you here to the candidate forum for San Marcos Consolidated Independent School District Trustee Election District 1 and 2. I want to say, go Rapids. Assisting us this evening are technology experts Nick Hoover, Robert Moore, our timers, Larry Albert, Dan, and me. The moderator tonight is 8 members. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots civic organization encouraging informed and active participation in government. It works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences public participation and action. The League never supports or opposes political candidates or political parties. Membership in the League is open to people 16 and older, regardless of gender identification. With over 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's most trusted civic organizations. Our mission is empowering voters and defending democracy. I invite you to join us by becoming a member or supporting the mission by donating. You can log on to lwvhayesco.com for membership and donation details. In addition to candidate forums, the League fulfills its mission by empowering voters, reducing the vote 411, digital vote 5, and vote. It is a one-stop shop for election-related information, providing nonpartisan information to the public, from registering to vote, finding candidate information, to verifying your registration and knowing what is on the ballot, state and local elections. Just go to vote411.org, enter your address, make your voting choices, and print out a copy of your ballot and take it to the poll. An additional election resource is the new free League in Action, which provides timely election reminders and voting information. Once you download it, search for League of LWV of Hays County to see pertinent messages. Please note that the League's policy does not allow video recording of any form by anyone in the audience. The complete policy, which applies to both candidates and the audience, be read by our moderator. Our moderator, Ida Miller, member, she will begin the evening by reviewing the forum rules, introduce the candidates, and begin the questions.
All right. Good evening and welcome. The candidates have all agreed upon the following 8 rules. Only candidates on the ballot participate in the forum. There are no rebuttals or comments on fellow candidates' positions. Only the news media may broadcast pieces of this event. Candidates can broadcast forums unedited with consent from LWV Hays County. No part of the recording of the forum may be used for campaign purposes. A recording will be available on the LWV website. If only one candidate appears from the field of candidates invited, the missing candidates are acknowledged and the forum will continue. Going forward with the forum does not imply endorsement of the candidate. Candidate literature is allowed on the designated table, but cannot be handed out to attendees directly. Cards, brochures, and flyers are permitted, no yard signs or banners. No campaign paraphernalia is allowed in the parking lot. To start the forum, each candidate in ballot order will make 1 minute opening statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to address each question. No rebuttals to another candidate or from another. Candidate responses address relevant issues. Personal attacks are not allowed. The timekeeper will hold up a card to indicate when there are 15 seconds remaining in the allowed time period. When the time has elapsed, a timekeeper will hold up a stop card. The candidate should conclude their sentences at that sentence time. And then the last rule, each candidate will have 1 minute to make closing remarks. After the responses to the LWV's prepared questions to the candidates, I will be asking questions from the community. The questions were selected by the league based on appropriateness, relevancy, nonpartisanship, and civility. Now, you may love or hate a question. You may love or hate a response. Please keep your support or disapproval to yourself. Share your concerns after the event with the candidates, the league members present tonight, and your friends. We're here to evaluate who will best represent our views on the SMTX. We appreciate their frank or measured responses. All right, please welcome Philip Muzzy and Jessica Cain, who are here for Trustee District 1. And at the other end of the table, Margie Villalpando and Kevin Carswell, who are candidates for Trustee District 2 in the San Marcos CISD Board of Trustees election. Mr. Muzzy, will you begin your opening statement?
Of course.
Hello.
There we go.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you all, you wonderful people, for being here. My name is Phil Muzzy, and I've been a resident of San Marcos for 27 years. It's a beautiful place, and I love it here. I live in the Troyes community with my wife, Sylvia, and we have 3 daughters. We're a blended family. I grew up as a military dependent. So I was raised in 4 different public schools in 4 different states, 3 international schools in 3 different countries. I graduated down the street at Bowie High School in Austin, and I immediately joined the military, became a military police officer. I did that for 5 years. And then I transitioned to San Marcos in 1996 to attend Southwest Texas. I own several businesses. I'm a former educator and currently a home builder in the Texas Hill Country. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cain.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jessica Cain. I'm the parent of 3 students who attend Hernandez Elementary here in the district. And I'm running for school board on 3 priorities. The first being safety, both physical safety of all people on campuses, as well as safety regarding drugs and alcohol, especially fentanyl. The second is sustainability, as we live in this rapidly growing county, which is not slowing down at all. And finally is the equity of all students, teachers, and staff in the district. I want to ensure that everybody has access to a great education with the resources they need, that teachers are well paid and well supported, and that families are informed and integrated into the schools. I've served on several different boards in my work as a pastor and as an active participant in various communities throughout Texas. I hope to bring this experience to the board, as well as my ability to work with a diverse group of people. And that's it.
Great.
My name is Margarita Villalpando. I am a resident. I've been in San Marcos all my life, except for brief moments of travel. I am a graduate. I am a product of the San Marcos School District and a graduate of Southwest Texas State University and an experienced SMTX trustee. I have been serving for 18 years. I have extensive institutional knowledge, dedication, and service equipped to make well-informed decisions as a board member. I received award after completing a year-long training program known as Leadership Test in 2011.
Thank you. Mr. Carswell.
Good evening, and thanks again for hosting this event and letting us come out here and speak. My name's Kevin Carswell. It's not born in San Marcos, but I moved here back in the mid to late '60s. We graduated San Marcos High School in 1984, and both our children are now adults, but they both graduated from San Marcos as well. I've been in management most of my adult career. I've served on several boards here in San Marcos that impact the economic status of San Marcos. I do believe my experience in management and leadership will lend itself to being on the boards that I've served on, are very similar format and styles. My focus would be on education. If you look at our scores, test scores, especially math, we're really deficient in math. I think when you get back to the basics, and really put education up first ahead of everything else. Education first, preparing our kids when they graduate high school is the best path forward for our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to have 8 questions. And Mr. Muzzy, you're going to start. So we'll let you go. All right. How can diversity and inclusion be addressed to ensure equity in the school community?
I think the community and the educational community is doing a job right now with inclusion. I believe that for me, my background is special education. I believe that special education services are vital to the school district. And I think everybody should be treated with respect. Everybody associated status. District 1 is a very diverse district. They need to have all the opportunities that they can. All students need to have all opportunities. Thank you.
I think the biggest issue for me when we talk about inclusion and diversity and equity is making sure that everybody has the same resources and the same support for whoever they are. We are a very diverse district overall and in District 1. We have a lot of students in this city who live in poverty, many who do not have homes or stable homes. So making sure that kids have everything that they need when they're at school so that they can learn to the best of their ability is certainly important. I'd also like to see the diversity of our staff match the racial diversity of our children, which we're doing okay on, but we could definitely do better in this district. And just making sure that children are supported as they are and for who they are in school.
We do have a very diverse population in our school district. And I think we will make the strides in our grades up. And then with that said, that with the our staff have to work real hard to set on everything in place for people, for our students and our teachers to be able to work during the pandemic. But one thing that I am very proud of is the dual language program that was started in 2016, which begins in kindergarten and goes all the way to the 12th grade. This makes it available to people who are struggling with English, and also it allows our English-speaking students to learn Spanish.
Is that working? A good question. On that topic, I would think that all kids should be access to equality, and that's equal opportunity to what we offer them as education. I think showing kids the vision that we all have the ability to learn and grow and be successful is what we need to be pushed into our kids. I think we've gotten to a point in life that we have short-term visions from technology, but able to present that vision to our students, showing that they all have equal access and can be successful in life. And that starts with basic, really good foundational education.
Our second question will go to Ms. To ensure the health and safety of all students and staff, What policies and action involving pandemics and gun violence should the board take?
I'll start with gun violence. I think that our school district is doing a fairly good job on this already. I've noticed at our own kids' school, they've increased the security protocols. There's only one door that people can get into, and you have to press a button to be able to do that and actually be let into the building. Our students practice drills, which I think all wish they didn't have to, but we know that they are doing everything that they can within the schools to keep students and faculty and staff safe. In terms of pandemic, I also think that the current board did a great job in addressing the pandemic by putting all of the possible things in place that could be there, from masks to dividers on desks to randomized testing if you wanted to sign up for that. And the board also made sure that there were COVID vaccines available. So continuing those things when that happens or continues to happen.
All right, Ms. Villalpando. Well, speaking of
Speaking of the pandemic, it was very difficult, because while we and the school district have the ability to get, the technology to the students, there were some areas in our districts that do not have the appropriate technology, because, well, they don't have that technology, but, they didn't have the infrastructure out in the rural areas. And so their internet was very spotty, and it was very difficult for both teachers and students. That's one thing. One of the things that I'm most proud of is our, well, for one thing, we're trying to improve the grades, and our, students in eighth grade are, have the option of taking algebra. Not all the students take it, but they are taking. Another, thing that we have, is an early college program. And so this year, we're graduating 15 students,
okay. Thank you, Mr. Carswell.
It's an important topic that we have to talk about, but it is something we need to continue to discuss and look at ways to make sure our schools are safe. My kids went to school here, and I have seen changes going to the school that you're not allowed in unless you go into the office. I think those are good changes that are necessary at times right now. As far as COVID, I'm happy that we're finally officially past COVID. I think the school board and staff did what they knew based on information at that time. I hope this does not happen. I still think security for our schools and teachers and staff is has been one of our priorities before also.
I concur. The school board did the best they could with what the information they had, and they should be proud of that. As far as school safety, one of my focuses is school safety in the secondary schools. We have assistant principals, hall monitors, and SROs that have one heck of a time keeping the classroom safe, the hallways clear, and the bathroom safe. So I would like to look into if there's any current staffing issues. I'd like to understand if look at the policies and look at the efficacy of the policies. And I think that we need to have a higher expectation in enforcing our student code of conduct and our student handbook. Also, I'm an advocate for the school marshal program. As a former military police officer, I would like to see some extra implementing or extra refresher courses or proficiency trainings above and beyond what the TVA is calling for to make it even more safe.
Thank you. Our third question will go to Ms. Villalpando. As a board member, how would you plan to support the current and future staff in order to recruit and retain? As a board member, how would you plan to support the current and future teaching staff in order to recruit and retain?
Okay, well, I think that the school board, always supports our teachers and our staff. by providing, whatever we can and salary. We look very closely at that and, retaining them well. There's just, I don't know anything else except the incentives to provide for them.
All right, Mr. Carswell, thank you.
For attracting and retaining educators or teachers, one, I think paying teachers on a merit base based off of performance would be a great way to retain teachers for their efforts put in. And I think if we did a merit base and rewarded teachers that had the best results, that be the test scores or something that the administration came up with that could gauge that, I think would also attract other quality teachers from other school districts that may be paying just on a flat scale where everybody gets paid the same regardless of their performance. I think those are some good ways that we're bringing that in. That's something the administration would have to handle, but I do think a merit-based rewards the teachers that put that extra effort in. They see better results, and I think we would gain other teachers from other school districts based on that if we gain the best teachers around.
All right, thank you. Mr.
I concur with Kevin. Teacher pay should be comparative to other districts. That is absolutely true. We need to create school environments that teachers want to work in. You know, you can have the best pay in 100 miles, and if our schools are not quality, it's not going to attract the teachers. And I also believe that increased pay should be linked in some form of performance expectations. Let's figure out how to increase the long-term pay scale through performance and outcomes. For example, content teachers, they can get a stipend potentially, but also getting a dual certification with special education and vice versa. That's going to even help the kids more. Teachers achieving their professional development initiatives and SMART goals. This could be incentivized, and the percentage of increase in test scores. And as far as the DEP, we can attract more teachers by hiring military veterans who work best with that challenging population. We give a stipend of $1,000.
All right, and Ms. Cain.
San Marcos has the highest starting pay for teachers out of all the districts around us, but does not match that as teachers stay in the district. So that would be one place that I would start addressing this issue, is to retain teachers, continue to pay them at great rates. Not adding more burdens to the work that they do. There's plenty that teachers are already expected to do every single day and week and year. I'd also like to see really good support of days off for personal needs, for professional needs, for training, so that they can continue to be stellar teachers, and for planning purposes. I know that happens in our schools. They get a day to work together with their grade level team so they can plan, and it's great for everybody. Also making sure that we have high quality administrators who have good morale in the school, which makes teachers want to work there and stay there, and just to treat teachers as the professionals that they are.
All right, thank you. Our fourth question will go to Mr. Carswell. What actions can the board take to ensure appropriate class sizes and sufficient numbers of classroom substitutes in the district?
I think for part of that would be planning. I think a long-term plan based on growth of our city over the last 5 to 10 years and projection for the next 10 to 15, 20 years. We are going to grow based on our demographics in Austin and San Antonio, and having a plan that we are addressing the issue well beforehand. We can look at the numbers and know what the growth will be. And having that data will allow us to prepare bonds in advance, prepare the community for those bonds, and know what our needs are well in advance of our growth. That's, I think, would be the best way for administrators to handle that.
Ms. Muzzy, Mr. Muzzy.
I'm the lesser known Muzzy, I understand. So I think the board and the superintendent, they need to have short-term and long-term goals, but also progress tracking, what that looks like. You know, we're a growing ISD, and we need to monitor what's going on and educate the public on what's going on every step of the way. That way, when it is time for a bond, it's not gonna surprise anybody, and we can budget accordingly. You know, whether we need to acquire real estate, whether we need to build another high school or another middle school, or what that looks like. But I think, you know, preparing short-term and long-term and having benchmarks and understanding those benchmarks will keep everybody informed, and we'll be able to move forward with that.
Thank you, Ms. Cain.
First of all, I'd like to make sure that the district hires enough teachers. That's obviously step one, is making sure that there are enough teachers for the number of students we currently have. And then, as the other candidates have said, planning for the future, knowing that we're going to grow, how many more teachers are we going to need? The other piece of this is facilities. Knowing that we're going to grow, taking a look at the facilities that we have and the facilities that we're going to need. I think at the high school level, we are probably already behind on looking at what the next steps are in terms of having enough classrooms so that the classes can be small enough with those teachers that we've hired. And in terms of finding subs, I've been working as a sub this year, and again, San Marcos does a great job of paying there, but sustaining that pay and then making sure there's a lot of really good support in place for subs and recruiting as much as we can, because it's a great part-time thing people can do.
Thank you, Ms. Villalpando.
These are all wonderful things that are proposed. If we have to work with a budget and have to look at all the departments, we don't neglect our teachers. We have good teacher pay, I think, as was mentioned, but we also have to look at all the other things that we need to do. In summary, there is summary for this kind of thing, the pay and everything that we have to consider. There is a bill before the legislators in Austin that would change our instead of basing our school funding on attendance, daily attendance. They're thinking of changing to basic allotments for all the programs, so that the teachers' pay would have to give a basic allotment, and so would transportation. And the problem is that let me just say this: this bill would reduce taxes because it would be based on not on average daily attendance, because when students are not in school, we still get paid the same thing. With basic allowance, it would be. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you very much. Our fifth question goes to Mr. Muzzy. In your opinion, does the SMTXD meet the qualification of innovation? Explain why or why not.
So District Innovation started in 2015, and to be qualified, you need to have a C rating, which luckily we have a C rating, which is great. So we absolutely do qualify. The question is the community can support that? Changing academic calendar, potentially having year-long school, potential 4-day work week, or school week. These are all things that are possible with the District of Innovation. So it's getting buy-in from the community. It's not just to qualify, but it's to actually have the ability to implement innovation.
Yes, I think we qualify as a District of Innovation. In the same manner, I think anything that we do as a qualifying district needs to take into consideration the needs of everybody in the district. And so if we're going to add half days off, how are we making sure that parents who work and cannot come and drop off their kids and 4 hours later pick them up? How are we making sure that they are supported in the best ways that they can be? Or are we considering not doing half days, for example, or not having extra days off in weeks when it's unexpected and care is unavailable? And anything that we do, we need to make sure that it is the best for the students, the teachers, the staff, and the families, that this is really an integrated whole community thing that we're doing.
The District of Innovation, of course, will let us do different things, but it is on the school board agenda currently, so we will be.
I apparently need to do more reading on innovation, that part of that, but I do agree with Mr. Muzzy and Mrs. Cain about that is definitely a community involvement question. If you're taking classes to 12 months a year, doing 4-week or 4.5 day classes, that's definitely a community involvement question. It's because it affects everybody in the community. I would have to learn a lot more about that before I would put a yes or no on that question.
All right, our sixth question goes to Ms. Cain. What actions can be taken to decrease the dropout rate and improve Texas Education Agency report card accountability rating?
An easy one. I think this is another question that has many factors and we'll all come at it from different angles. I think one of the things that has been brought to my attention is that there are folks in our district who work as attendance people. It is their job to kind of keep track of who hasn't been in attendance, and right now the funding for the one at the high school is going away and there's some consideration for getting rid of that position. I think that would be a mistake, that it is a good idea for us to continue to have a position like that, because that person isn't just going after families and saying you're not sending your students. That person is ensuring that the family and the student has all the resources that they can have to get to school and to succeed there. We need to keep positions like that and continue actions like that.
Thank you.
I think that the position may be going away, but someone will have to keep track of that. It's a difficult job to do, but there are staff people that can do.
To decrease the dropout rate and improve the TEA's report card accountability rate.
As far as dropouts, I think folks back to get into education in that vision for our students. If they're dropping out, they don't have a vision of what school, what they're gaining for school. Having that vision of what the education brings them long term, the rest of their life, is something that I think would help the dropout rate. As far as TEA rating, keeping those kids in school, that's going to be, I think it takes a lot to bring those kids back in and keep them engaged. The education part of it, we have to keep pushing them to know that there is a life after school, and there's a long life after school. And the better you prepare for it, the better your life will be. I think we have to continue to reiterate that message to our students to keep them engaged and in school, prevent that dropout, or at least reduce them now.
Mr.
One thing we can do is increase the positive learning environment in our schools, reducing the bullying. So, but life happens, and sometimes they may not want to go to school because there's problems going on. So I'd like to work on that. I'd like to work with the parent liaisons. I think we need to find ways to implement mentorship programs. And I think we need better communication with our families on absences. And I know of a few anecdotal situations where parents were not aware of excessive absences, and that's a problem. So increased communication.
All right, our seventh question will go to Ms. Villalpando first. What strategy would you use to manage the district funding to maintain or improve educational quality, including vocational ed?
I think that our school does well to do vocational ed. We have programs that, address that. Some of the questions.
What strategy would you use to manage the district's funding to maintain or improve educational quality, including both vocational ed?
Stress. I'm sorry. We, as a board, have to work on the strategies that we have to use for maintaining the educational qualities, and we do. We have a lot of programs that address those issues.
Mr. Carswell.
Good question, and that's a difficult question to answer, I think. It's having the proper funding, and that I think comes with the plan that we talked about earlier. Planning for future growth also plans on future funding for all of our education fields, from English, math, STEAM, arts, and music, and also the vocational ed. Part of that has to be with planning, knowing our budgets need to be, to make sure that they're properly funded for each one of those. That's what I think, strategy-wise, I do.
Mr. Muzzy.
I think having a overarching goal of fiscal responsibility is number one. We need to put the money where it really to go based on student outcomes. Maybe not vote for a new stadium grass this year and put the money towards the students and different departments based on like student outcomes.
I believe Ms. Villalpando needs a hug. Would one of the league members come up and give Ms. Villalpando a hug?
But you know, I just say that everything that we talked about here, the issue that come up, the board looks at all the funding and tries to provide with the budget that we have. There are certain things that we can't do, but we study and we get information about all different kinds of programs. We may have the school may have problems, already mentioned around bullying in school and all that, but the staff is there to address it. And we have confidence in our staff that they need for the reason. But it's not just our students. They're having issues everywhere.
Thank you.
I'm not going to do that.
All right, Ms. Cain, you guys can answer that question, right?
No, not yet.
Boy, I really loved you.
I think everybody said, you know, budgeting is a difficult thing and it's a huge task of boards. I serve a small congregation, so our budget are always very limited, and a huge chunk of that in any organization is going to go to staffing. So when we talk about budgeting, I would want to look at prioritizing the things that matter most to us. The quality of education, the vocational programs, STEAM, well-rounded learning, and then, you know, starting with the most important things, we start putting the money in and make sure that we are funding at that priority level.
Thank you. Okay, our last lead question goes to Mr. Carswell. Please explain why you are or are not in favor of passing the current bond.
Do one at a time or all four?
Got a minute.
The first bond A for the attendance credit, I would vote yes for. We need to keep the our territory size and the money coming in from those funds coming in. Bond B is definitely a difficult one. I just don't think Bond B focuses enough on curriculum. I think we need to put more emphasis on curriculum until we fix our curriculum issue, and that's poor performance. Bond C is the football field, I believe. We chose to put a football field in with artificial turf. I think as a safety issue and needs, I think it's already expelled its life. And I think I would vote yes for the new replacement of the football field. As far as the natatorium, I would vote no. Once again, I think that money could be used better in curriculum. We have to do grades up and do better with our school. The better our kids are educated, the greater success they will have outside of school. And I think our focus really needs to be on our curriculum. That's how I vote in this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Muzzy.
So on Prop A, yes, because I don't want our property taxes to be raised. B, the facility maintenance, I'm on the fence with that. I didn't do a needs assessment. I wasn't part of that process. Unless I have more information, how can I make a judgment call with that amount? C, the turf. I think it's needed, but maybe not quite yet. And in the natatorium, originally I was a hard no. But then we're in District 1, and I realized that we have a lot of folks on that side, on the east side, that simply don't have anything. So if I'm representing District 1, that means I'm representing District 1. So I would vote yes on that.
Thank you. Ms. Cain.
I am a yes on all of them. The first one, again, spending some money to get more money seems to make sense to me. In terms of our facilities improvements, I would like to see a little bit more of the breakdown of what that's going to look like, but we've talked about sustainability. We've talked about being a growing district. We need to put some money into our facilities so that we can continue to meet the needs of our students. As far as the field goes, it seems like that is something that is going to have to happen pretty soon, no matter what. So let's fix the field now and hopefully get that settled for a long time. I also was on the fence about the natatorium until someone pointed out to me that a natatorium that the school district owns means swim lessons for any kids who need it. And as long as that's part of what's happening with that natatorium, I'm fully on board with making sure all of our students learn how to swim.
Thank you. Ms. Villalpando. Okay.
Thank you. On A, definitely going forward, we will not get a tax increase. On the bond projects on B, long-term safety, future growth, and district success, and all those will help all of our campuses. The proposition C, that's where the football stadium, that we need to get that because it's reached its limit with its life expectancy, and we just getting a new one will provide safety for our students who play there, not only our students. You know, when football season is over, that stadium is rented to all for else, and it's always in use. It's always in use. Other communities use it. Our National Guard, I think, sends off their troops and the other one.
Thank you so much. If you don't know about the bond issue, there's a QR code back here. You can take a picture of it, and it'll take you to the SMTX website and explain the bond issues. All right, now we have time for community questions. And so the first one will go to Mr. Muzzy. How many students in the San Marcos CISD area are homeschooled, and how many attend private school? How much money did we distribute?
That's one heck of a question. I know there are students that are homeschooled, private school, and even go to charter school in Kyle. I don't know that number. I don't know how I would know that number. I think it's important for our ISD to provide all the programming to prevent somebody from wanting to go to a private school and a charter school. And I think that our school district actually does that very well. If we increase our academic performance, then I think that's going to attract more and more families and more students. It's not the end all be all, but it sure as heck is an external factor assessment of how we're doing. It's an important one. So we need to, the question is, how can we get those folks back if they have left us?
Thank you. Ms. Cain.
I also do not know numbers on that question, and I agree that making sure that we have the best possible education system that we can is the best way to keep students here. I, like many of the folks here, am a product of public schools, and I think they're amazing and a wonderful benefit to the whole community. So I think continuing to increase the education that we give, offering these vocational programs and STEAM and lots of extracurricular activities, hiring great teachers and retaining them, all of this stuff will make people interested in coming to San Marcos and staying in San Marcos. It worked on my family. We moved here in part to come to the schools.
Thank you. Ms. Villalpando.
Yes, and I think, I agree with you, and I think that, there's nothing that we can do. Someone else, parents have a choice when they send their children to school. So they can choose, charter schools or any other schools. I think that, I think some of our parents are very proud to have their children in our schools and they like our, school curriculum and everything that we have now.
And Mr. Carswell.
And once again, for the numbers, I would not know where those numbers are. I'm sure we could research and find them out before we were asked that question. As far as attracting our students that are not in our school district, yes, we have to improve our test scores and their own image and the product of our students when they graduate. That would be one way. I do think having some options for parents for their kids' education is important also. Having, I lost the words, but I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Okay,
Something like that.
Our next question will go to Ms. Cain. What do you think your role would be as a trustee?
Well, I think first of all, the role of any trustee is to consider the needs of all of the people affected by the school district. Like I've said before, the students, the teachers, the staff, the families, and the school district. Even if you do not have a child in the school district, it is part of your reality of living in this community. Also thinking about the future. So the students who graduate from San Marcos High School are gonna go somewhere, and it might be here, but it might be somewhere else. And we are responsible for who they become and where they go and what they do. So I think that's a general role. I think one of the things that I can specifically bring to this role is, like I said, my work on many boards, but as a pastor, working with people across a diverse group of people and kinds of backgrounds and theologies and ideologies, and bringing everyone together to come up with some sort of plan and achieve our goals together.
There is a very definite definition for a board member, and if you go to the Texas Association of School Boards, you'll find out immediately that there is a line between school board and management, and you're not supposed to cross over. We do the administration, the budget, we do those kind of things, and the staff is care of the things that happen. And so even though we vote on a lot of programs and we do a lot of things, our role is to be a board member to support the superintendent and the staff in all that they propose to us.
Because as a board of trustee, work with the other board members, set policy for the administration, and then make sure they send us back measured results from that policy. Then also make sure we're allocating the proper amount of funds and bringing in funds so we can fund the projects for the school.
Mr. Muzzy.
I think the most important thing that I would do as a trustee is create and maintain a safe and orderly learning environment for everybody. That's number one. and creating a vision and policies that increase student achievement by looking at where the student outcomes are currently in reverse engineering. And working with the superintendent and other school board members can be probably challenging at times, I would imagine. But it needs to be done, to be respectful, because you have to get along to go along. And I think that you can increase student achievement by making that happen.
Ms. Villalpando, this question will go to you first. What is the biggest problem facing our district?
The biggest problem facing our district probably is, that we're funded on an attendance basis. And I am a proponent of funding on a local option basis. And for that, and there is, legislation in Austin right now that may change the way that we get funded. And the reason I'm for this local option is because it funds programs, it funds teachers by a local option, and that would be a better option to follow because first of all, we would pay less taxes. And so our taxes wouldn't be as high. It's something to be looked at and encourage our legislators to pass this by.
Thank you.
Can I get the question one more time?
Yes. What is the biggest problem facing our district?
I think the biggest problem from the outside looking at is our test scores. I think lower achieving schools, parents looking on outside to attract growth is one thing they probably look at. Funding has to be something we have to always keep in the forefront on how that's funded. I'm glad that Mr. Villalpando is bringing up some changes that the legislation is looking at that may help our funding for our school. Definitely look forward to that. I think challenging our test scores and improving that overall scores be the best thing for our school district and our students.
Mr. Muzzy.
I think closing. Check. I think closing learning gaps. We were a C district before COVID. We're a C district after COVID. Pre-pandemic learning gaps have been only exacerbated. And our test scores, they need to go up. If we're going to attract students, we're going to attract families, we have these master plan developments, we need to attract folks to our ISD. And how do we do that? Increase these test scores and get the buzz out there. They're not going to go to Wembley, they're not going to go to other districts and go to San Marcos ISD. Why? Yes, we have great career technology and education. We have great college preparedness and all these good things. We need good test scores.
Thank you. Ms.
Okay. I think the biggest problem facing the district right now is things that are related to having gone through a pandemic together. A big part of that is attendance. We have a lot of students who didn't come to school in person for a year or two, and now just kind of have established that as the pattern of their lives. When students don't attend school, they don't learn, so they can't achieve high test scores. They can't learn the things that they're supposed to do and go out into the world. And so that's the biggest thing, the biggest piece of it that we can see is the lack of attendance, but that also reflects a lack of engagement by students and by families and in the community. So addressing all of these post-pandemic gaps is going to be a big challenge.
Our last question will go to Mr. Carswell first. The swim team used to use the pool at the San Marcos activities. Why is this option no longer used?
I have no idea what now it's no longer used. Did not know it was an issue. I know back in the before that they used to use Texas State's pool. So I'm not sure why they're no longer using the San Marcos school. It seems like it'd be a good collaboration between the city and the school district to fund together on some of these projects to be used by the community and our students.
Thank you, Mr. Muzzy.
Like Kevin, I'm not in the know. I do not know if I was going to to say something you probably wouldn't be. But I would like to know, and that's a good question. I'll look into it.
This is actually my first question when I saw the bond about making a natatorium, was that we have a facility available in town already. It does not have diving capabilities, so if we're interested in that being part of our sports, then that explains why we would want to add our own. I do not know why specifically we're not using that anymore. I agree that we are not that big of a town. We can share the things that we have, and that would be great. And I'd be interested in looking into why we're not using it anymore as well.
Well, it's an expense to us, yes, to have an auditorium for our students, but our students have to be bused where they have to go. And they have to make available time to go over there, do somebody else's school. In the meantime, I think that an auditorium would be good for our school district, because they could not only, the swim team would have their swimming, but other students could learn how to swim as well. That are not on the swim team. A teacher could go on, and also, just like the football field that is used from other school districts, they're going to use it for that. We could have other school districts that pay to come use our field.
All right, thank you. This concludes the questions for the San Marcos ISD. And they'll do their closing statements, but I want to say, we could not ask all the community questions. There were some more. We noticed that some of them, the answers have been posted on Vote 411. So we encourage you to go back there and use that QR code and get on the Vote 411 and check out the answers to their questions. Now, each candidate will have 1 minute for closing statements. And that will start with Mr. Miller.
I wanted to save my qualifications for last because I really think qualifications matter. My education includes a Master of Education in Educational Leadership with a principal certification from Texas State University. I've been a teacher of record in world geography, U.S. history, special education. I'm a former associate principal, English as a second language coordinator, gifted and talented coordinator, and campus positive behavior interventions and supports coordinator. I'm also an Army veteran and a local business owner. I had to get that out because my family's not impressed one bit about any of that. But I think qualifications do matter, especially in this long time post-COVID. And I appreciate everybody for being here, my family, my friends, the legal women voters, to you folks for participating.
I have failed to mention during this whole time that one of the things I love most about our district is the dual language program that we have, that one of my children is in, and 2 of my children were too old to get into by the time we got here, which is a deep disappointment to me. But I think that that is a really fantastic program that we have, and I didn't mention it in any of the other things, so I'm putting it here. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and being engaged voters. This is one of those elections that doesn't get a whole lot of engagement, so it's awesome to have the League of Women Voters put this on and to see all of these wonderful faces here.
Okay, one of the things that one of the things that I wanted to finish up and mention is the fantastic thing about this year is that we have 15 students graduating from our early post-school building college program. They're graduating with their degree, associate degree, plus they get their, of course, they're graduating from the high school for their degree. And then we have this from coastal building college on to graduate with an associate degree. They have to go through that program too while they did their studies. So there's opportunities for our students. I don't think it's as bad as so many things that, oh, never mind. I think our school district is doing well. We do have issues. We're not, we're, 75%.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you. It's nice to see everyone out here, at the school board meeting recently. I think I was the only visitor at that evening. So I'd like to see more participation of our parents at our meetings. I think that one thing improves our education. And also for everyone here running, I think it's important to get more people involved in running for places in our community. And I hope that our next election, we have more people participating in the election process. As far as our school district and what I would bring is the data. I think data is very important. We have hundreds of years of educational data that we have in the United States. And we have, from that data, we know what works with results and what doesn't work. And I think looking at that data, implementing areas of education curriculum that have the best results and following that results to improve our educational scores is very important. That's one thing I'd really focus on. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for hosting.
Thank you. Please encourage your friends and family to watch